All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. By the way, a reminder tomorrow, Michael Avenatti will be joining us. It is the anniversary of 9/11, so we will be getting some special guests to talk about that fateful day that happened many, many years ago. It's amazing how many years have passed since 9/11, but certainly we will be focusing on that and remembering those heroes and those who lost their lives on that terrible day. So I mentioned this before we went to break. As everybody knows, or you should, that listens to the show, I am not a Laura Ingraham fan. I like some people on Fox News. I think Brett Baer does a good job. I think Wallace is very fair. Shepard Smith, I think, is fair. So there's some people on Fox News I do like. I don't hate the entire network. I watch it, and I like to get both sides. I'll watch Fox News. I'll watch CNN. There's some people on CNN I don't like very much. I don't like Don Lemon very much. I think Cuomo does a better job than Don Lemon. I think Jake Tapper's okay. There's people I like. There's people I don't like. I don't like Laura Ingraham for a lot of reasons. I've said it on the air. I'll say it again. I think she is an evil witch, and I think she is a racist. And I think she wears that cross around her neck, and she hides behind her religion, and she is a hateful person. When Nipsey Hussle died, a week later, she decided to attack some of Nipsey Hussle's lyrics when they haven't even buried the guy yet. Disgraceful. She tells LeBron James to shut up and dribble, who happens to be an African-American basketball player and a successful African-American, a powerful African-American, who is allowed to share his voice. But when somebody like Ted Nugent comes on her show, a white person who is a musician, she doesn't tell him to shut up and sing because I believe she is a racist. Those are some of the reasons why I cannot stand Laura Ingraham. Last night, she made herself look like a complete moron on Fox News once again, and it involves an African-American. And what was the topic? Well, race. She appeared startled last night. If you watch the video, we're going to play a little bit of the audio, when a guest dared to disagree with her viewpoint. It was New England Patriots tight end Benjamin Watson, who disagreed with Laura Ingraham when he told the primetime host he agreed with Jemele Hill. Now, Jemele Hill is someone who used to work for ESPN, and now Jemele Hill is a writer. She wrote an essay for The Atlantic. Now, Jemele Hill lost her job at ESPN. She said Donald Trump is a KKK member. I don't agree with that verbiage at all. You can think Donald Trump is a racist, but there's no evidence to support he was ever a KKK member. She says some things that are a little out there. But she wrote this essay exploring whether black athletes should leave majority white colleges and take the money and attention they generate elsewhere. I read that, and I actually thought it was very well written. I thought it was a good article, and she makes a lot of valid points, how many African Americans, college athletes, are making a lot of money for some predominantly white colleges, and they're not benefiting off it other than a free education. Now, you could say to yourself, wow, they're getting a free education. They're getting free room and board. If you're making millions and millions of dollars for a university, maybe you should be paid. That's another story for another show. But what Jemele Hill is trying to say is that maybe some of these African Americans should go elsewhere, maybe colleges that are not predominantly white, and maybe they can benefit if they go elsewhere. I don't necessarily disagree with it. Now, of course, Laura Ingraham is going to take the side of white people because she never takes the side of African Americans. Like I said, I believe she's a racist. So anyway, this New England Patriots tight end, Benjamin Watson, who is an African American, comes on her show last night, and I actually think Laura Ingraham, based on her body language, was actually surprised and kind of startled that Benjamin Watson disagreed with her. Let's play that audio.
If we're trying to pump money and revenue into some of these communities that there's still this big disparity, this may be a way to do it.
All right, Benjamin. Well, I think that Duke would have not been thrilled about your not being there, but we'll leave it at that. I mean, the college sports would certainly be a lot different today if we went down a color-coded way of figuring out college admissions. I mean, that's resegregating the country. Why do we want that?
Well, no, because segregation, as you know, is government mandated.
Yeah, I get it.
This is not segregation.
Yeah.
This is, if you read the article and see what
I read the article. I read the article. All right, we got to go.
I read the article. It's segregation. I read the article. No, she didn't. Because if she read the article, she would have known that what Benjamin Watson was saying is absolutely true. I read the article. No, doesn't she sound like a witch? She really is a witch. She's the racist witch on Fox News. Clearly, she didn't read the article because Watson said segregation, as you know, is government mandated. This is not segregation. If you read the article. I read the article. And Jemele Hill responded on Twitter. And again, I'm not a Jemele Hill fan. I don't like some of the things she said, but I thought this article she wrote was a very good article, and it made some very valid points. Me and Benjamin Watson agree, as do many others, except for people way on the right or people like Laura Ingraham. So Jemele Hill went on Twitter and she said, what's so hilarious about this is that on an almost nightly basis, Laura Ingraham bitches and complains about how white people are being replaced and how diversity is bad for America. Then suddenly, I'll tell you what, Jemele Hill makes a very valid point there. She's 100% correct on this one. What do you guys think about this? We'll take your phone calls now. 257-5396, 702-257-5396. It's another perfect example of Laura Ingraham just acting like a complete buffoon, and you have New England Patriots tight end Benjamin Watson making some very valid points on her show, and I think she was very surprised by that, and then all of a sudden she abruptly ends the interview. I read the article. No, you didn't, Laura Ingraham. You are a liar and you are a witch. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Brady. Brady, what's going on?
Yeah, good morning, guys. I wanted to bring up, it seems kind of funny to me, though, Brian, that you have more respect for some type of hooker drag queen that's reading to our kids.
Excuse me, you just started off. Okay, first of all, let me correct you. It seems like every single time you talk, when you call in, you say something that is dumb. So let me correct you. Just because you dress in drag doesn't mean you're a hooker. So would you like to rephrase your dumb comment that you just made? Do you think just because
that was questionable,
do you
Brady.
think just because you dress in drag you're a hooker? Please answer the question.
Did you know several of them
Answer
people
the
that
question.
have been busted for being a hooker?
Answer the question.
You know that, Brian. That
Answer my question. Answer my question, and then I'll answer yours. That's how a normal conversation works, Brady. You just said you called them hookers. So my question to you is, if you dress in drag, does that mean you're a hooker? It's a yes or no question. Answer the question.
Yes, some of them are.
Because you're an idiot. You're an idiot if you think just because you wear drag, you're a hooker. You're a moron.
They're hookers.
Some are hookers. That's true.
Maybe you're a hooker.
But assuming that all of them, are hookers is not.
All right, Brady.
Correct,
Would you like to continue this conversation? Because what you just said is incorrect. Just because you wear drag does not mean you're a hooker. Any logical.
Okay. Brian, do you have kids?
Answer the whether I have kids or not. Whether I have kids or not is no bearing to this, and I'm not going to answer that question.
Again, why wouldn't you rather have like a soldier, a returning soldier from the Army reading a book instead of some guy with a queer with two sets of gears?
Okay, well, there you go. There you go with another word defaming, homosexuals because you are homophobic. You just said that people that dress in drag are hookers. You made an ignorant comment, and you do that on this show every time. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to dig your a bigger grave for yourself?
Okay, who in the first place thought it was a good idea for them hookers to be reading at the library?
Okay,
in the first
like
place?
I said, how would you? Are you married, Brady? Do you have a
No, I'm
girlfriend?
married.
You're married? So how would you like it if I called your wife a hooker, not knowing who she is? Would you like that, Brady?
Probably not.
Probably not. Okay, well, guess what? There's a reason why I bring that up. I don't know who your wife is. I know nothing about her background. You know nothing. Excuse me, let me finish. You know nothing about these people just because they wear drag. You know nothing about their background, but you think it's okay to call them a hooker. Then I'll call your wife a hooker. Do you like that?
Well, why didn't they pick a place?
No,
like
Brady,
Iraq
your
or
wife.
something to do their reading?
Brady, I think your wife is a hooker. What do you think about that?
I think you filleted Donald Trump, brother.
You think I fillet? We're talking about steak? You can't even talk. The name is Fellatio. Get off my show, you idiot. Fillet Donald Trump.
Hey, Brady.
What do you mean? I'm going to cook him medium rare fillet?
That was one of your best calls ever, Brady.
You were trying to say the
delightful.
word. You were trying to say the word fellatio, and you said fillet. You can't even talk.
And he meant to say someone else. He meant to say Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama.
Clearly,
you don't fillet Donald Trump.
Do you see how ignorant this guy is?
But I do enjoy a filet mignon every now and then.
Do you see how ignorant people like Brady are? They call in, and because they disagree with the lifestyle of, say, somebody who dresses in drag or somebody who is a homosexual, they immediately call them a hooker. So I made the comment, maybe your wife's a hooker. I don't know who your wife is. It'd be a ridiculous thing to say. But if you're going to say something ridiculous on your show, I'm going to respond with something ridiculous.
It's not that ridiculous, but assuming that.
What do you mean it's not that ridiculous?
Listen, it's what you said was totally different. You don't know you know nothing about his wife.
Of course,
but it is ridiculous to create an all-encompassing assumption that just because you are a drag queen, that means you are a hooker. Now, are some drag queens hookers? Yes, but that doesn't mean every single drag queen is a hooker.
There are hookers out there in society that are straight too. It has no bearing on the conversation.
There are hookers in Las Vegas right now making $4,000 a week who are also attorneys.
Wait, how do you know that?
We're trying to get one on the show.
Did you ever date one?
Absolutely not.
Oh, okay. I was just asking.
We're working on getting her on the show.
Okay. That's true, actually.
That's reality.
The reality, sadly, though, JD, is that there are a lot of people out there like Brady, who is a right-wing nut job, who has typical of right-wing people that are way to the right. And again, I don't like to generalize, but there are people out there like Brady who fail to ever criticize the president of the United States. He never has.
Which is insane.
He's never criticized a Republican. I've openly criticized Democrats on this show. And if you are confused on what Brady was talking about, we did a story last hour. It's happening in Henderson where men dressed in drag are reading books talking about diversity to kids. And there are a lot of people that disagree with it, and they're picketing outside, and they're against it. So instead of having a conversation and disagreeing about what's happening in Henderson at these libraries, this caller decides to call in and call cross-dressers hookers.
He also said queer on air.
And he also is using a word to defame anyone who is a homosexual. This is exactly what I'm talking about here.
I have a daughter. She's 21 months old. Would I take her to this? Absolutely not. But that's my decision.
That's your right.
And they give me that choice.
Because we live in the United States of America.
They don't say, no, it's not a requirement by any stretch of the imagination.
Yes.
But if you want to do that, and as long as that lifestyle is not being pushed on your kids, more power to you.
And we had somebody else call in who used the term sodomize. Sodomy. Because you dress in drag, that must mean you're involved in that sort of thing. Do you see how dumb people are? Well, and by the way, these are the same people that talk about the Bible. These are the same people that call themselves these wonderful Christians, and then they attack people based on their homosexuality because they're homophobic and ignorant.
Well,
that's why.
Brady's situation is very odd. I disagree with Donald Trump all the time. I criticize him consistently, but I'm still going to vote for him. I still support him. Just because you don't agree with him 100% of the time doesn't mean you're not going to vote for him. Doesn't mean you don't support him. And I don't think that there's a number of people like Brady who clearly don't understand that.
Well, I don't think Brady understands a lot about life, for that matter. But for the record, Brady, I don't know who your wife is, but if you're going to say something dumb on our show, I'm going to retort with something dumb.
You know, and it's hard to argue. Donald Trump just fired an extremely experienced, qualified member of his cabinet for disagreeing with him on one issue.
Yeah, you're talking about Bolton and not Michael Bolton.
To me, that's the act of a dictator, in my opinion.
12 firings, by the way.
Am I mistaken in saying that?
No, it is.
I support him, but I mean, come on, what are you doing?
I never thought I would
one issue.
I never thought I would see the day that you called President Trump a dictator.
I'm just saying that's what that is. When somebody disagrees on one thing that you do and you fire them for not thinking that you are consistently right all the time, which you are not.
Yeah.
To me, that's an act of a dictator.
I don't disagree. 257-5396 is the number to call if you want to be a part of this conversation. 702-257-5396. Also talking about the witch, or I like to call her the witch racist, which is Laura Ingraham on Fox News. Again, GCI Guys Hotline, 257-5396. Let's go to Wilfrey. Wilfrey, what's going on?
What's up, Bob?
Gentlemen.
It's been a while.
I've been gone a couple of months. I come back, and you've gone upscale.
I have gained 5 pounds. You're right. I've gained 5 pounds in the last month. I have gone upscale.
I'm also 6'8" now.
Yeah. Go ahead, Wilfrey.
You got a hotter air time. The rest of it's still hate radio talk, but setting that aside, look, here's the problem I have, Brian. Children, they're using our children. They're doing educational, moral, gender, racial, neutering, bending, social engineering. And Brian, you really have to stay off the subject when you haven't had a child, quite frankly.
I completely. Just because I haven't had a child doesn't mean I'm wrong. I couldn't disagree with you more. That's like saying.
I didn't say you're never wrong.
Hey, Bob, I have a question. Have you tried the Impossible Burger from Burger King yet? Because you're always worried about tainted meat.
Oh, not tainted.
That's a different subject. Go ahead, Wilfrey.
I made the point that the reason a lot of these men are becoming
Listen, Wilfrey, let me just add something what you just said. Because I don't have kids, you're trying to make a point that maybe my opinion is not as credible as somebody like you. Let me tell you something. We had an African-American call in that made a point. Well, I'm listening to 3 white people in the studio, and she was trying to discredit us because we're white and we're not black. And I said the same thing to her. My opinion is no more credible or less credible than yours just because of the color of my skin. And I will say the same thing to you. Just because I haven't had kids doesn't mean your opinion is more credible than mine.
Right. That's what we call personal truth, Brian.
Okay, so why are you asking me if I've? So why are you asking me? Why you
want to talk?
So why are you asking me if I have kids or not?
I can motor mouth it.
Then why?
I'm trying to make a point to you. Instead of making a decent, common, rational point, you want to ramp it up and off issue.
You asked me if I had kids. I told you.
I was about to compliment you on this. A partial truth can never be argued against. What you did was you took my comment that was well-intended and factual-based, and you reconstructed it and said,
it's not factual-based. It's not factual-based. No, it's not.
I'm trying to tell you, if you don't have children, you don't have a clue about raising a child. But that doesn't mean you don't know anything about children.
I don't have a clue. I don't have a clue about raising a child. You know nothing about my life. You know nothing about my life.
You don't have children.
You don't know anything about my life or whether I've raised children or not. You are making a gross assumption about me, and you have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, then I rephrase my question. Have you had a child in a marriage?
I'm not going to talk about my personal life on the air, but I will tell you. But I will tell you this. I have helped to raise 2 kids. I was engaged at one point in my life. She had 2 kids, and I was a father figure to those 2 kids. So what do you think about that, Wilfrey?
You know what that is? Well, I'll tell you what that is. When a female passes a male,
make another assumption. Yeah.
No, I'm trying to tell you the natural.
I know.
I'm putting a context to your verbiage. You just want to throw verbiage out there, Brian.
No, you're the one who threw verbiage out there. You're making an assumption about me, asking me if I have kids or not, and you're not making your point.
You just want to be argumentative instead of
well, you're boring. You just want to bore our listeners. So, but I'm not complaining about that. Go ahead.
You want to find a reason to hang up because you're blood sensitive.
I've let you ramble on now for 5 minutes, and we've lost probably 100 listeners because of you, and I haven't hung up on you yet.
You break in.
That's probably not a stretch either.
Intelligent discussion.
We're moving on. We've lost half our listeners because of you, and I still haven't hung up on you yet. I'm showing a lot of restraint.
You have 2 listeners. You lost half. A big deal.
We have 2 listeners. We have 2 listeners.
Yeah,
Bob.
People call in, you can hang up.
So why do you think we got an extra hour? Why do you think we got an extra hour when we moved 9 a.m. to noon? Because we have 2 listeners, Wilfrey?
And Bob, in all fairness, we've had about 70 calls today.
Yeah, you're very factual based as usual, Wilfrey.
I get. Yeah. We're trying to see what's coming.
Yeah.
You represent what's coming.
Wilfrey, do you have kids? Wilfrey.
Commentary.
Yeah. All right. Stop the rambling for a second. Do you have kids, Wilfrey? Since you asked me that same question and I answered it, do you have kids?
Yes, I do. I've had 4.
Yeah. Are they morons like you?
Don't start that. What kind of shit talking?
Okay. Goodbye. Have a nice day.
Why would you do that?
Have a nice day. Have a nice day. Have a nice day, Wilfrey. So Wilfrey said a bad word on the air. We do have a 5-second delay, but the question I asked Wilfrey, and I think it was a fair question, because Wilfrey asked me if I had kids, and I actually answered it on the air, and then I asked him, Wilfrey, do you have kids? He said, I have 4. I said, are they morons like you? Because Wilfrey is a moron. He's a moron. He calls up and he goes on these ramblings. He insults our show. He says we have 2 listeners, but yet he seems to listen and call in all the time.
He also showed up at our Rodizio Grill remote that we had a couple months ago.
Yeah, well, you know what? I have no tolerance for people like that. Maybe I'm just like him. You know, clearly. First of all, when you start a conversation, when you start a conversation and you say something like that, you're talking about, do you have kids? And he thinks that my opinion is less credible than his because he has kids and I don't, then you are a jackass. Okay? Just like when you call into a show and we're talking about, drag queens and libraries, and you call up and you call drag queens hookers. You're an idiot. You're not capable of having a conversation. All right. The number to call again, 257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to, I believe, Marge. Marge is our next caller on the Vegas Take. Marge, thank you for calling in. What is on your mind?
What's up, Marge?
It was the fastest relay of a phone call I've ever had yet.
What's going on?
And I'm one of your 2 listeners.
Oh, thank you so much, Marge. I appreciate that.
My dog makes 7 because, after all, in their life, it's 7 times the humans, right?
Yes, that's true. That's true. So what do you think about this?
Yeah, Laura Ingraham and this whole thing. I mean, it's typical of her. I guess he didn't get the script as far as what he was supposed to say. But I think it's a very valid point that, if those black athletes go to black colleges and
Sure.
they're really that good, they're going to get a lot more as far as their revenue base is concerned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you agree with me and Jamel Hill. I thought it was a good article.
Yeah, it was a very good article.
And quite frankly, Marge, I think Laura Ingraham was caught off guard with this guy from the Patriots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've seen her do that before, where she invites a guest, and if they don't agree with whatever she's saying,
yeah,
all of a sudden you can see it just cut completely short, and they're probably never going to meet.
Well, and who does that exact thing? Donald Trump does the exact same thing.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. Boy, JD is sounding very much to the left today.
I'm not left at all. Nobody is right all the time.
Yes. Yes.
That's true.
Well, that's
But
a very logical.
And issues get figured out by having both. Like one of the reasons our show is successful is we have an issue and we talk about it on both sides.
Not according to Wilfred.
Well,
we only have 2 listeners.
Obviously, Bob knows we only have 1.5 listeners, but in my mind, it's successful for a number of reasons.
No, we have 5 listeners
But
if you include his kids.
You have to iron everything out.
Yes.
And you can't do that when someone disagrees with you and you just steamroll them.
Marge, it is always great to hear from you, Marge. Thank you so much for calling in. And
You're welcome.
Call in tomorrow because we're going to be doing some special 9/11 stuff. We'd like to get your perspective on that, okay?
All right.
Thank you,
Okay,
Marge.
thank you.
I'm going to squeeze in one more quick call, then we have to go to break. I got about 1 minute for Dylan. Dylan, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
What's up, Dylan?
Hey, what's up? Hey, I read an article. How you doing, JD?
Doing great.
I read an article about Fox News doing a transition to go completely like CNN, but it would take about a 6 months to a year period, and eventually that Laura and Tucker would be actually gone. And it was a credible ad that I was reading.
Huh.
Anyway, I knew why you. I figured why you were gaining weight, man.
Why is that, Dylan? I
Hanging out with TV at all those sports books, getting rich and eating buffets.
Dylan, you are so right on that. I can't even begin to tell you.
Dude,
Yeah,
dude, how bad I want to come hang with you guys.
Dylan, you are so right on that. And actually, I will add to that. Waking up, and you're not wrong, by the way. Waking up early in the morning doing this show, I have no energy throughout the rest of the day, and I have to take naps. And I'm not working out as much as I used to, Dylan. But I
follow JD. I'm very impressed.
Thank you.
Have a good day, guys.
Thanks for the call, Dylan.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Dylan.
Yeah, one thing I never want to grow is man boobs. That is for sure. All right, well, so we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, our tennis guru is going to be joining us in studio. His name is Barry Brandt. And if you didn't know this, we kind of had a big tournament the last few weeks. It's called the U.S. Open. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're also going to talk a little bit of golf as well. Shriners Hospital for Children's Open right around the corner. Take a quick break. Be back right after this with our tennis guru. You're listening to the Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.